Well, good afternoon, Liverpool. It is nice to be in person in the north, right? Yeah, I've seen all these Londoners having nosebleeds, thinking it's a really long time, but it's a really long way from London. It is really great to be with you. My name's Ben Whittaker. I used to be a secondary school religious studies teacher and now get to do some of this cool stuff with Mr. Holt, thinking about future education and work alongside a few organisations, supporting them with their digital transformation.
Afternoon. Well, I got it right. Afternoon. So yeah, we're going to try and bring the energy. If you've got friends that are still eating, you need to bring them in. They can bring the burrito ball. It's not a library. They're allowed to come in. And if they spill stuff on the floor, we'll be all right with the carpet. So as Ben said, I'm Steve, one of the directors of Edufuturists. We've been at the podcasting an annual event for around 9 years. We started out as an EdTech podcast, but I've been now focusing on the future of education and looking at what our trends are. We have 300 episodes, lots of different content for you to look at. Outside of that, my favourite role is a dad of two very young children, two feral children. Love my kids, but they are 4 and 2.5, and wow, there's probably some kind of hurricane going on in our household at home. So as much as this is daunting to sit on the stage often, it's also nice to be sometimes outside of the home. But we'll introduce our guests and go down the line if you want to. You first. That's it.
Right. This is a message for everybody outside of the arena. The best talk of today has started. You better get here soon. Okay. There we go. My name is Tom Rogerson, and I'm the very sensible headmaster of a boarding prep school in West Sussex. I've been there for 17 years, and I was a teacher, and I still am. And so we are going to talk about the future of education. If you want to change education, give me a hell yeah. I think that's a quorum. I'll pass on.
Maybe he should be the host.
That was remarkably short, Tom, from what I understand. Right, so has anybody here heard of Bond, James Bond? Yes. When I was younger, I wanted to be the female version of James Bond and change the world. I currently work in global leadership and communication, and our clients are Google Cloud, SAP, big tech companies. I am flying solo of 3 amazing rockable teenagers, and I have a sports coaching background. I come from a forces family within the TA, and in 2000, I led a special reconnaissance mission of ex-SAS and SBS ex-personnel for missing and trafficked children across Europe. And it was there that my mission, coupled with becoming a parent, started around the injustices facing children. So I'm the founder of Evolve Generation. I have a team of 80 EdTech enterprise business leaders. I'm just the bus driver. And we have created over the last 4 years an education blueprint to challenge the current system. And we are going to be meeting industry needs, and it will become a hybrid school. We're just talking to investors at the moment. So, Hugh.
Hello, everyone. Oh, sorry, a bit loud. Hello. Hi, guys. Tom, it seemed to work. 1 or 2 came in, so well done. 1 or 2. My name's Hugh Viney. I am the founder and CEO of Minerva's Virtual Academy. We are a school that launched 4 years ago, around this month actually, opened our doors in November 2020 to 4 students. We founded because I thought there might be a need for us, a school for children that didn't suit the norm, a school for children whose mental health needs were not supported by their previous school, a school whose neurodiverse needs were not supported by their previous school, a school for elite athletes, high performers, families that travel, families that want something different. And I suppose we hoped there'd be a market for it, but 4 years on, with 1,000 students fully enrolled at the school and the fastest growing school in the country, I think we've proven there is a demand for that. There is a need right now for alternative form of schooling for children that don't suit the mainstream. And I'm really excited to be talking with you guys today.
So when we talked about finding a rock star panel, like we found a rock star panel, right? And the reason why we're doing and having the conversation we're talking about is, you see the title there says the future of education, weak signals for what's coming. That conversation really is about what is on the horizon and what do we need to bring into reality for our young people and the young people that are to come. And actually, I say young people, but we don't really mean young people. We mean learners from early years to careers. And Martin, I saw him talking about, I bet he'll put his head back around because he heard me use that phrase, that is the epitome of Brilliant Festival, which is early years to careers. And we're talking about education, all of it, learning all of it. And all of us here today are doing learning, right? And we're picking up and getting new ideas. We write a trends booklet, which we've got a few left of, and you'll see some of us holding these out, and we give these out at our annual awards event. And what we do is we've interviewed, like Steve said, 300 episodes, and we look at what the trends we're seeing across this about where education might go. And the three guests that we've got on the panel today are kind of an extension of what we've done in the podcast, but these are like we said, rock stars. And what are the global signals and what are the trends that we're talking about? So there are 4. I'll list them really quickly, but then we're going to address these and talk about how they might be relevant and what they're seeing as the weak signals. So the four trends are holistic education. Holistic education is based on this idea that we want to supercharge humans in the AI age. That's what we want to do. We acknowledge that it's about more than just results, although results are important. The second one is about culture and strategy in that order. Culture first, then strategy. We hear a lot talked about strategy, but we think culture comes first. Third one, and this is what, not just us, this is what our guests are saying. Third one is about lifelong learning. Lifelong learning is about, we put the phrase leveling up without gov. We pork the bear, we're quite happy with that. But it's about leveling up everybody across however old you are in that space. And then the other one is about enabling technology. So we think that technology is a tool, not the tool. And so we want to turbocharge education, not just digitize it. So that's what we're talking about. And that's what the phrasing we're going to look at today. So we'll talk about that holistic education piece. And I know that a few of you will be more than happy to talk at that. So I don't know if anybody wants to take that one first. Is there anything that any of you want to jump into, talk about your examples and signals that you're seeing around holistic education for you?
Yeah, I think I'll jump in there because probably many of you will be wondering how on earth can you have a holistic education with an online school? Because that's what we are. I maybe missed that in the intro. It's a crucial part of what we are. When I say an online school, I don't mean a platform and I don't mean a set of courses. I mean a school. Our students attend assembly on Monday morning with the head teacher. Our students have after-school clubs. Our students have pastoral care, access to mentorship. Our students also take 9, 10 GCSEs, 3 or 4 A-levels. They just do it all online. Apart from the school trips they do, six a term roughly, where they meet up in person. Now, how do you have a holistic education if you're online? Well, we've proven it can work. We've proven you can have a sense of community despite being online. And we do that by all the same reasons that good schools create sense of community. And that is through extracurricular activity. That's through clubs and societies. It's through our school trips I just alluded to. But nothing struck me more, and if you're in my earlier talk on esports, sorry for repeating myself, nothing struck me more than we've managed an example of how we've managed to create a sense of community at our school was when we entered our kids into a national schools tournament, an in-person national schools tournament with physical mainstream schools, and our online schoolers came along. It was actually at Tom's lovely school in Sussex. And my kids competed representing their school. Not only did they love it, the winning, the losing, the being part of a team, seeing them kiss their badge when they scored a goal in Rocket League was something I'll never forget. And a real example, if I may, of how one can create a holistic school spirit despite being an online school.
So I think for me, coming from industry and being a parent and not an educator other than a sports coach, holistic education for me means free range kids rather than battery made children in a linear system. We need to peel back the onion. It's all very well projecting and looking at tech and future, but we need to make sure that these kids are, from a foundation level, have their developmental skills and SEN quirks, all addressed. And it's all about the learner's pathway. So we need to make sure that we have built resiliency and self-worth and confidence by the time they are 7. We're not going to drive them to, in our system, we're not going to drive them to tech unless it serves their need. So it's peeling back that onion. It's addressing their needs So are they needing visual or sensory or developmental support and making them fit to learn by their 7? And also, it's very clear, we know now through the science, that there is a lot of impact from transgenerational trauma or epigenetics, whatever you want to call it, and it comes down the bloodline. So we have to address Gabor Mate, talks about it a lot. And if we don't look at that, we can't keep putting plasters on a system that if we don't get the solid foundations and build that, grounding from the ground up, root causes, and I'll stop there.
To you.
Over to me. I'd say schools like Cottesmore, if you look it up and you'll see, I think, for yourself, it's the original idea of a holistic school. So you get a girl or a boy who's singing a high C in the choir, 20 minutes later, they'll be playing rugby or netball, and then they'll be coding, and they'll be jumping in the lake, and then they'll be playing golf, and then they'll be in the chess team, and then they'll be in the debating team, and then they'll be in a play. But that's all in about 2 hours. So we truly believe in holistic education in a very, really, really visceral way. This has sort of transpired in my life and the way I talk about education as well. I'm very, very keen on something called the art of and that's something I'd love to sort of expand upon, maybe not today, but hopefully at some point with the Edufuturists. The art of and is a very, very important concept for this particular era. People are very keen on binaryism. They like maths and football and go home. It's the antithesis. Cottesmore is the antithesis of maths and football and go home. We're reaching out to all sorts of people, neurospicy people, a bit more relaxed, steady people, people who want to be physical and get out running, people who want to be cerebral and play chess. We're reaching out to everybody. And I think that's how the holistic side of things manifests itself at Cottesmore. And please do come down and see it for yourself. I think you'll love it.
Thanks for the invite. When are we going, everybody? I'm not paying for the bus, so absolutely not. And I think it's that whole conversation. The interesting thing is Tom just whispered to me, wow, you've brought together a posh panel. I think it's a mix of council estate to the posh panel, and a good mix there, I think. Coming from a council estate in Yorkshire and going through a state education system that really probably wasn't fit for purpose for me. I retold a story of I was probably a chatty kid. I was a chatty kid, and I was locked in the dark room on my own every single art lesson for the whole time I was in secondary school because I was that type of learner. And I think ultimately I've got to a point now, I'm not going to name the school, by the way, absolutely not, but the holistic element of education, regardless of what sector you're in, needs to be shared and needs to be raised up, because content is absolutely great. Thank you. Yeah. Wow. Somebody's just clapped. Are we related? Why are you clapping? So is that my mum? But I think ultimately, I think it's about what got me here, luckily, to be on a stage, wasn't actually the qualifications I sat, was around the skills that I've developed in different industries, different organisations in different sectors. I had a great conversation earlier, me and Ben, with a guy, and he was like, I think we're teaching as schools often, not the teachers, the system itself, to get people to know how to play a song on the guitar, but they don't have an understanding of the instrument. Do we understand the unpicking, and can we recite a wonderful poem or write a wonderful poem ourselves or story, but do we understand English, communication, all of those kind of things? And I think that's what we mean in terms of holistic education, skill development. In an era of AI, human intelligence has never been more important, because transactionally, that will replace us. All of the human intelligence, compassion, storytelling, all of that is so important to us. And as educators, we need to create a revolution and say, you know what, you're wrong. We will change the system with our young people to change it, because ultimately, I think often, apologies if there's anybody from government, we are the change makers, not the people at the top. And I think that leads us on to another trend in regards to culture. Strategy, absolutely fine. I can write a strategy. Yeah, I could probably write a strategy better than I can, often. But I think it's that cultural piece of culture first. Have we created something? Have we created a culture and brought people along with us? So when we talk and work with them, that whatever we write, whatever we want to do, the culture is ready for it, for any strategy and any implementation. So I don't know if anybody wants to pick up. Should we go down the line, back to reverse? Is that all right, Tom? Yeah, let's do it.
Can I have the question again?
I don't know does anybody know what I said? That was a test.
What's about culture first? What culture you're trying to create that then you can develop a strategy?
So
That's what I'm here for, everybody, to keep everybody on track.
that is a very good piece of advice. Culture, I don't know what the saying is, but culture beats something every day. Or there we go. Eat strategy for breakfast, for lunch and supper. I'd go even further. I'd say, or I'd add to that and say, vision and authenticity and culture equals culture, and that eats everything else for breakfast. If you don't know who you are or who you want to be, then you won't know where you're going. And if you try to be somebody that you're not, that doesn't, there's no connection with who you really are, then I think that can be a bit tricky. Pumping out that vision, that mission, the authenticity, and the culture is that you can't not do that. So I'm all for it. Yeah,
Sure, totally agree. Nachelle.
So for me, it's all about people. Community is your currency. And if you look after your people, the stats and the results will come. If you drive your stats and your results, you will lose your people. Just look at global leadership, look at politics, look at organizations that drive people into the ground and overwhelm and burn out people. So you have to give your staff and your community a reason to be engaged, to want to come to work, to inspire them, to inspire the learners. And having a coaching and mentoring platform for us is very key. It's very equitable. You need that community to thrive. You want everybody to go forward together. So there's no hierarchy in my book. Seen it work badly. And I think, as the guys were saying, culture, pedagogy before tech. Let's look at tech and what enables your learners and what benefits them. Let's not reach out and go, oh, there's a new shiny star app, penny, whatever it is. And let's be really ethical and safeguarding around what those boundaries look like around tech. We can see, I think it was Sir Anthony Seldon that said, tech is a great enabler, but it could also be our greatest threat.
Yeah, thank you. Culture is so important with what we do. Being a school for children that don't suit the norm. Ours is a culture of happiness first, or well-being first. And I'll use an example. Ofsted, for many a dirty word, but for us, a game changer. Ofsted now inspect online schools. It's a brand new thing. And Ofsted came to inspect us in June. And how do you inspect an online school? Great question. They visit all the online lessons, the online assemblies, but they've got to come somewhere physical. So they came to our 5-man office in Brixton, and their names were John, and John, and they wore suits and ties. So this office has never seen a tie, let alone a suit, in its life. The whole office building, in Brixton. But they were lovely. They were kind. They were lovely. And they gave us this Ofsted report, and the opening line was almost like I fed it to them, which I didn't, I promise. Well-being is at the heart of everything MVA does. MVA, Minerva's Virtual Academy. And they got it in one through their inspection, their 3-day inspection. They realized that well-being is at the heart of everything we do, because we take children that are broken by the system, who are desperately unhappy, who've been school absent, emotionally based school avoiders for 2-3 years. Happiness comes first with us. Well-being has to come first. And it was one thing we did well from day one, because guess what happens when they're happy? They engage more. Guess what happens when you're happy? You learn more. Guess what happens when you're happy? You get better grades, if that's what matters to you. And I'll finish with this. Sky News interviewed me a year ago, and the interviewer went after me. He said, what about your results? And I said, look, we've only been going 3 years. We've got some GCSE results. They're pretty good. National average. He was like, well, then it just shows you, you're not, results is what parents care about. And I said, no, it's not. Well, it may be, but all we care about is happiness. And honestly, half the comments, the thousands of comments on the Sky News piece were, this guy's a fucking idiot. Results is what matter. But half were from parents saying, oh my God, yes, happiness is most important. Happiness is most important. So it splits the room being like this, probably not this room, It's the national room,
Yeah.
but it shows, it speaks to people. Happiness first.
Of course it does. And then that really does flow into, it's not just a segue, it flows into that third trend, which is about lifelong learning. I've said before, we're sat here today, we're learning. We go on a podcast once or twice a week, and it's the best CPD we've ever done. Like, just because every day we're learning, every conversation we're learning, we're thinking, oh, I like that. I like what that person said. I like that quote that they've just come up with. Here's another book that somebody's recommended to me. I'm learning. I don't remember the last time I went to a college to do anything other than speak to them about how to change learning, right? Do you know what I mean? So as we go into this idea around lifelong learning, and maybe one or two of you jump into this conversation so we can have the last bit around technology. Lifelong learning is an importance, right? So I know that that's kind of embedded in what you're trying to do there, Hugh. Do you want to start?
Yeah, certainly. One of the things that our method of schooling, online schooling, well, particularly with MBA, there's different types of online schools, but with us, we give children a skill that they need in modern life and in the future of work more than what a traditional mainstream physical school does. And hear me out here. I'm not pretending we're better for kids at all. Most children should go to physical school. I'm just saying, for a significant minority, we're the best place for them to go to school. We do flipped learning. That's 60% of their learning is done on a virtual platform without a teacher. And 40% of their learning is done in a classroom with a teacher. Meaning, and you'll remember this from university if you went, you're learning a subject for the first time before the lesson, and you're coming to the lesson with a prior knowledge of the subject. And then you go and consolidate the learning from that lesson back on the virtual learning platform. And this mode of flipped learning, terrible for some kids, but amazing for others. And in fact, better. It's a better way of learning for many, many kids. So that's how we operate as an online school. And I'll reiterate this, not all online schools do that. Some of our competitors just have 8 hours a day of lessons. We're different. And that skill, that self-learning skill, self-discipline, sets them up for lifelong learning, sets them up for the real world. So that's just one example, but I think it's a really, really good one.
So one of the things we've looked at is whole family education, and we need to change the narrative around you go to school, you go to college, you go to university, that's it. You get in your job, you don't learn anymore, end of. Most of us here in this room are lifelong learners, forever the student, never the teacher. And one of the books I really want to just share, which I didn't get an opportunity for, is by Sir Al Ainsley Green, the first UK Children's Commissioner, called The British Betrayal of Childhood. This will make your heart cry and weep and your soul sing for changing the landscape of children in this country and the injustices that are happening to them. So when we talk about lifelong learning, we look at, why are we not looking at all the countries around the globe and taking the best bits from them? Singapore sent people back and encouraged people to go back at 40 to go back to college. Like, hello, people, wake up. You can learn and you can better yourself. And, by adults learning, you become the elders in the village and you pour back into the children that are coming. And also we can learn from 4 and 5-year-olds as adults in the room, right? So let's not sit in an egotistical place and go, we know it all. But lifelong learning for us, and it's embedded in our culture and in our methodology, is all around whole family education. And we will be having a leadership and development centre where educators, parents and families can all come together for that lifelong learning journey.
Cool. I'm going to read that book. Way. Thanks. Yeah, it's hugely important to, at Cottesmore we believe, and I think everybody here believes, we got to meet the future halfway. We got to go out there. The jobs don't exist that the kids are going to have. My son's 11. He doesn't know the job he's going to have because it doesn't exist. Cottesmore, we put together a program called Cottage Sparks, and a whole lot of things, including esports, are part of that. And we're trying to reach out to the kids. It's not the future, half this stuff. It's now. And you all know that because you're here and learning about digital assets, learning about blockchain, learning about NFTs, digital entrepreneurialism. That's not something crazy in the future, some kind of nutso thing to talk about. That's happening now. And there are 11-year-olds who are, through their parents and through legal means, they're running businesses, they're starting businesses. And this is really, really serious stuff. We've started a program called Cottage Sparks at Cottesmore that engages children in all of this stuff. Our digital patron is called Priya Lakhani, and she is a very fantastic and very dynamic person. And that's part of the Cottage Sparks program. We all went up, a bunch of us went up, and we talked to her. In fact, she talked to us for 3 hours non-stop. And it's very, very important that you link up with lots of very, very cool people who can come and make things real, make this future, or actually the present, very real for all the children in your school. E-commerce, everything is hugely important. As I said before, Cottesmore is all about the mud. It's all about the rugby, Latin. Yeah. So I know Ben's a classicist, but we're also about reaching out, meeting the future halfway, or actually just living in the present.
Absolutely wonderful. Okay. So we were going to leave 5 minutes for questions, but we can't move away from a wonderful panel, can we? So I'm going to take a minute to plug some of our stuff. Show of hands. Who thinks they're doing a good job? Wow, I thought nobody was going to put their hand up there, and I was like, wow, this is a safe space. Okay. If you don't feel like you're doing a good job, put your hand up if you're giving it your best every day. Some people are still not putting their hands up. Come and let's have a hug at the end. I mean, come on, you are doing your best.
Your mum didn't put her hand up.
I know she didn't, but she doesn't like hugs. But I think me and Ben, we do the podcast, but we do an annual award, an awards evening. It's going to be in Manchester, so not a million miles away from here. Gives me a nosebleed because I'm from Yorkshire, but I'm going to have to travel across the Pennines. And it's educators, organisations, individuals from lots of different categories. If you head to edufuturists.com, grab it, get a ticket, and also the nominations for people to be able to nominate yourselves, others that are doing a great job, because ultimately the future is absolutely wonderful and we will change it, but you're also doing a great job now. We think you are wonderful and we want to celebrate that across all sectors. So yeah, we've got the Trends booklet. We missed one out, which was Tech Enabler. Got some hard copies here, but we do have some digital copies that we can send out. We've got 1 minute. It's flashing. It's really aggressive, this. Why did it go red?
It's going to go red in 1 minute.
Yeah, good job.
Before it goes red, can I just say at 3:25, I've got members of my team talking in the Imagine Theatre around why industry needs a conversation with education and how to re-engage disengaged learners. So please come and join us.
Okay. It has gone red. It's gone red. It explodes when we get down to a minute. Okay, we're going to go one question. Put your hand up if you think you've got the best question in the room. Right, okay, perfect, yes. I was going to say, if not, if anybody's a parent, let's just sit in silence for a minute, because we don't get that often either.
Good afternoon. So, I hate it when it's suddenly all on me. My question is about how do we deal with all of these things that we look forward to and how we wish to engage young people when poverty is such a massive barrier to what we're doing?
Get people to help, connect, get all sorts of people together. It can be huge amounts of help. Get everybody together. It's what we do down in West Sussex. We have a group called the Buchan Group. Cottesmore funds 7 schools with the most powerful AI that you can buy. We are a group together. Why can't a load of other people do that as well? That's probably one of the ways. Yeah, and it's a really big problem. Disparity, inequity in AI and tech is a really big problem that doesn't need to exist.
Community collaboration.
Yeah, look, our school is with fees around 7,000 a year, so we're 4 times cheaper than a typical private school. But 50 of our students out of the 950 are funded by their local authority. So the family is not paying for that, and that was 5 a year ago. So it's up from 5 last year to 50 this year. So that's going in the right direction, because I see a future where there's choice. This is the key thing. Parents need choice. If their child suits the physical school, they go there. If their child suits the hybrid school, they should go there. If their child suits the online school, they should go there. And there'll be private and state options for each. But it's nowhere near there yet, but it's slowly getting there. And just some of those kids being funded by their council, our school, that's a good sign.
The final thing I'll say, she's going to beat me up. That's fine. Chinese burned me. Got a long sleeve on. Okay. If you're unhappy, we are the change makers. Okay. We cannot sit by, we cannot sit there quietly and say a government will change it, a system will change it. They ain't changing the system. because of power struggle. They want to keep hold of it. We need to change the system. We need an uprising. Well, let's not go out and start smashing windows. That's not what I'm saying. It's about us using our voice collectively. How many educators and how many people are passionate about education in this country? If we collectively use our voice, it will change significantly everything that comes after. So don't sit there quietly, shout, don't smash things up, but let's change the system for a revolution.